Got another story to share. So I said this before that I love all kinds of movies. Yes, action, horror, are my favorite genres of movies. But I could watch anything. A good comedy, which by the way, it's been a minute since we got a good comedy movie. Every now and then it might. Well, no, it's been a minute. Let me know some recommendations of a good comedy because it's been a minute. It ain't the way it used to be with comedy movies, and I think because a lot of people are scared to. I guess they say go against the ropes or whatever. Like back in the day, like the 2000s stuff, people did not care even before that, and it was hilarious, great movies. Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. But I love all kind of genres, and this one in particular is in the romance department. This movie, as they say, it's kind of dramatic, but it's sort of true. It made and break as they say, some things make and break you. This movie did. This was my first ever romantic movie that I've ever watched. I think I was 12. I was young. I was a kid. My first ever. Never watched a romantic movie outside of the Disney cartoon ones. But I'm talking about like legit, like Nicholas Sparks, Notebook, whatever, 27 Trends. Like I never watched those kind of like live action romantic movies. This was my first one ever. And my mom encouraged me to try it because she noticed little backstory of why she wanted to share this with me. This movie was because she realized that she used to call me a little romantic. She was like, "Oh, you a little romantic. I'm like, how you talking to these girls and you saying at a young age I want to be married and all this stuff. Oh, you a little romantic." Like I remember there was this one girl. Should I say her name? I'll say her first name. Her name was Brittany. I remember I had a huge crush on her in elementary school, and I used to ask Mom, can I buy some flowers? I used to want to bring flowers and candy. I used to be a little romantic, as my mom used to say. So she's like, I want you to watch this movie. Wait, hold on. When did this movie come out? It was A Walk to Remember. Let me tell you what the movie was called. The movie was called A Walk to Remember. Now, it came out, 2002. Okay. So I was 12. I'm a 90s back. I was born in 1990. So I was 12, 11 going on 12. And so she introduced me to this movie. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And bro, I ain't going to try to break down the whole movie because I just want to share why I believe this was the best / worst romantic movie ever. And when I say worst, it's not worst like all garbage, not like that. And I'll explain why in a second. I watched this movie, and I'll tell you this. When it was done, I cried for at least 15. My mom loves sharing this story. I cried for like 15 to 20 minutes. My mom knows the exact time. It's crazy how, because she was surprised. It's crazy how she knows the exact time, but it was a first time thing for me. And she didn't expect this reaction from me, but I cried for 15 to 20 minutes. And I'm going to share why. So, the story, the plot is very common outside of a little surprise near the end. Long story short, movie is basically bad boy meets a preacher's daughter who she's always the outsider in school and stuff like that while he's the popular kids mess with the nice girl, the preacher's daughter. And in the middle of this normal high school drama, these two have a fling after they participate in a play together. Oh, wow, someone's poking my eye. Sorry. Oh, that's why. Two big old eyelashes. Eyelashes. All right. But anyway, what was I saying? Oh, they have a connection, a little spark, I guess you could say, after they both participate in a play together where they both was like a romantic with each other. And they have a moment on stage that has them stare at each other for a minute, and you can tell that little spark is there. Now, that turns into him having sort of like a interest in her. His heart's has softened up a little bit from being the person that's usually with the crowd that's bullying her to now the guy in the crowd who's actually interested to want to get to know her more. He asks her out. I'm not gonna share the whole story, so I'll just put it this way. He asks her out. First date, they hit it off very well. They start dating. It's all turning out good. It's looking good. You notice that her attitude is changing him. And I love that. I love how in all the bullying that she dealt with, all this other stuff, you still see her kindness change who he is. And makes him turn from this bad boy to a lover boy. And then it makes him lose his friends, but you see his attitude with his family, his attitude with other people starts to change, and it's all from the influence of this girl. So anyway, movie sounds like something you've heard before. Sounds nice. It's all good. I'm smiling watching the movie. I like how this turned out. Like I said, I like simple. Everything don't have to be complicated with plot and all that, especially with romantic movies, comedies or whatever. It's all turned out good. I'm smiling. There's a scene that comes up though when those two are on a date, and they give each other a kiss. The preacher's the girl, her father, who's a preacher, saw it because it was in front of his house. Goes outside. It tells the daughter to tell the boyfriend it's time to go home. Lets the guy know it's time for you to go. And they have a little conversation with each other. I ain't gonna say argument, but just have a little, disagreement with each other. And she tells her father, I love him. Bro, he says after that, then be fair with him before things get worse. Now, when I'm 12, I did not know what that meant. I'm like, be fair to him before things get worse. Like right now, if I watch that, I know what that means. Like something's going on with her that there, has not been shared in the movie. And by the way, the movie did not share this at all. You don't see no hints of this situation of why the father would say that. Then a few scenes later, the girl and the boy, they go on some kind of walk, and you realize that she's a little distant from him, like attitude-wise. She has a little attitude towards him, and he's like, "Yo, what's up? Like, what's going on with you?" And she says, "I'm sick." Now, me, 12, I'm like, okay, like, all right, go to bed. It's like a little cold. And then she says, and by the way, I'm spoiling this. So this is one, I usually don't spoil everything, especially like big situations, but I have to spoil this in order for you to understand my situation. So she says, I'm sick, I have leukemia. I still didn't know what that meant, but I saw his face. Two things. My mom was watching with me. She looked right at me when when the girl said I have leukemia. And like, that's how she looked at me. And I'm noticing the boyfriend, his whole demeanor changed. He went from, oh, what's going on, to like in disbelief. He's like, no, you're 18. You're perfect. And then she said, I stopped taking treatments. I stopped responding to treatments and something like that. That you see his face and he's about to cry. And I'm like, oh, this sickness is serious, bro. Because I was not knowledgeable of what leukemia was at that time. And, then they have a little conversation and he's basically saying, why didn't you tell me? And all this other stuff. And when she walks away, because she's heard the fact that, because for those who don't know, she did not want to fall in love because she knew she had this sickness. She didn't want to put nobody in this situation that he's in now. But she just couldn't help that she loved this man. So she's hurting for this to be in this situation and for him, and he's hurting because that dude just hit him like a ton of bricks. And bro, when I tell you, my mouth was like, huh? And I looked at mom like, wait, is this like some kind of deadly sickness? And mom was like, yeah, let me put it to you this way. Usually people have leukemia, it doesn't end well. And when I tell you, like, bro, and that's one thing I want to give this movie credit for. They do very well with the music score. The songs in this movie was perfect. Switchfoot, Mandy Moore's song, these other songs. The way they did this scene where the son or the boyfriend is driving to his father's house because his father is a doctor, and just that drive. They had the Dare You to Move song as it was happening. And you could tell he's trying to look for something to help his girlfriend. I'm sitting there. My whole energy changed. It came from being happy to, I remember saying this too. I remember just saying this. My mom used to remind me of some things, and something I didn't remember I said, but I do remember saying this was, I like this relationship. This is the kind of relationship I like. I'm no bad boy. I was never like that. But just I wanted to meet someone like Mandy Moore, that character. And bro, when that situation happened, I was like, Okay, I want to meet someone like that without this situation. And I felt for him because his character development, in my opinion, was good. This woman changed his life. Sorry, I'm starting to, that I still get every time I watch that movie, I get emotional. I don't cry for 15 minutes anymore, but I still get, a little emotional. But yeah, she changed his life. And she did not expect to fall in love, but those two, it clicked. And for him to ask the father, by the way, him and his father did not have a good relationship at all. They barely talked. I can't remember how long they didn't talk, but it was for a while. But he was like, look, my girlfriend, she has cancer. And then that is when it really hit me. I'm like, and as a 12-year-old, I knew cancer 90% of the time is for people who have it usually don't live long. And so it hit me more. I'm like, and my mom said, she was like, Duran, when you heard him say, that's my real name is Duran. When you heard him say she has cancer, your eyes started to really water up. And I'm like, yeah, bro, because I'm sitting there like, there has to be a way out of this. And maybe there's still a way. But when the father, when the son and the father had a disagreement with something, when he was asking for help, and the son ran away, got in his car and drove off away from the father. And they had a scene where the boyfriend was driving the car and it was close to him and he was trying to hold it together. Then he quietly breaks down. Bro, I cried like a baby in that moment because imagine putting yourself in that situation, even as a 12-year-old. Like I was 12, but I wasn't dumb. Like I understood the feeling that. And I remember, bro, when he was sitting there driving, his eyes watering, he's crying in that moment. I'm like, bro, and like I said, the score did not help because the music was great, but it had some soft, sound like sad parts of the song that went with the scene. That whole scene was made perfectly because, yeah. Anyway, and I remember after that I started to get a little mad because I'm like, why does this have to be in it? Why can't they just be happy? And I remember, and I do remember this. I told Mom, something's going to happen. She's going to feel better. They're going to have some kind of surgery. They're going to be good. My mom did not respond. She just looked at the TV like this. And usually, knowing my mom, when I'm right about something, she'll go. But when she went, tears, bro. I had tears. The movie wasn't even over yet. And the friends that he lost because he turned to a good guy started to get softer and they changed. Like the effect this woman had was so blessed for him and that it blessed the friends as well. And to see them rekindle their relationship, it felt so good to see. But at the same time, the woman you love, the help that helped you in this journey is dying. And I'm going to skip some scenes, but to wrap it up, the father did help the girlfriend the best way he could, which then made the boyfriend go back to the father. They have a rekindleship, crying on each other's shoulders and stuff like that. But there's a scene, and bro, you talk about breaking down. There's a scene, I have to reenact it. He's at his lady's house, and he sits like this, and she's not looking at him yet. Then he just looks at her. Do you love me? And she's like, would you do something for me then? And she said anything. Then he's like, will you marry me? And bro, they played that song right after he asked that. And you talk about, bro, thinking about it now, dude. They showed the wedding, like they kiss each other, which basically her saying yes, and they show the wedding right after it. And you see all the bad people in the beginning at the wedding, meaning they changed. This happy moment, bro. And I'm still holding on to hope that she's going to live. And the father, loving this moment as well. At first, he wasn't a fan of the boyfriend. And it was just such a great moment. And then husband now was narrating. When he said, I was so hoping that he didn't say it like he was saying she died or you see a grave. But when he said, and then she went, with her unfailing faith. Bro, just saying that, I felt that hurt so much, bro. Oh, I was crying. And dude, my mom did not expect Sorry, my mom did not expect me to cry at all. She thought, well, I take that back. No, she didn't. She said she didn't expect me to cry because I never cried in movies before. That was my first time, and there was a good moment when but that wasn't the end. The end was he went to go see his father-in-law, and he's like, paraphrasing, but he said, sorry, she didn't get her wish. And he said, she did. It was you. I was like, bro, and he went to he was at the boardwalk, and he was just, it was a narration, and he was sitting there, and he was feeling the wind, and there was a narration about how he could basically feel her love. Woo! And they played that Mandy Moore song after that, bro. Dude, that broke me. But that was my first time breaking down over a movie. That was my first time. So when I say it was the best and worst romantic movie, it's not worse in a way where I wouldn't recommend it to it was a terrible movie. It was worse for me. Well, first I'll say why it was the best. It was the best because it was my first time experiencing a romantic movie, and it did well with not selling, how should I put it? Make you believe this relationship, because their chemistry, Mandy Moore and I think it was Shane was his name, but their chemistry was so well done, bro. It was so well done. You believe this relationship. The story was very simple, but it was very believable. Like I said, there's some movies where actors have to sell it, and they did very well. And you rooting for them, and to see how, and you're hoping that he doesn't mess her up with how his bad boy attitude, and all of a sudden she becomes a bad girl and all that. No, it was actually the opposite. She helped him. And bro, I was like, I wanted that. I remember watching. I told my mom that. I was like, that's what I want. The worst part for me was her sickness. I still to this day, it is what it is. I'm not mad at the writer or nothing like that. But I used to say, and I stick to it, that didn't have to be, because at first, before I said that, I was like, is this a true story? Maybe this is a true story, and you can't help that. And usually my mom was like, from what I know, it's not a true story. I was like, then why? And I was crying, then why did he write that? Because I didn't know who Nicholas Sparks was. After that movie, I started reading his books, and I realized Nicholas Sparks has a thing of killing people off. I remember that used to make me mad. I stopped reading because I'm like, okay, I don't have to see everybody die. Well, I should take it. Not everybody died, but he was famous of his movies of having somebody big die. And I think, Knights of Rodanthe made me really mad. It was hard for me to watch Nicholas Sparks because Knights of Rodanthe was one of the lamest kill-offs you could have done. That made no sense. That movie was good, and then the end, and it wasn't no Walk to Remember kind of end where, okay, in a way I'm still smiling, like the wedding, and with the dad told the new son that it was you, and the breeze, he said he basically felt his love. It didn't even have an ending like that. It was just a stupid death. Anyway, that's another conversation. But yeah, it was the worst for me because I always say, I'm like, why? I would love to see a second Walk to Remember where they show their love life, marriage with kids and stuff like that. But I still have nothing but love for the movie. It is the best and worst romantic movie that I've ever seen. And again, it's more because of how it's written, and what it did to me. It broke me down. Talk about having your hopes really high on two characters not even real. But when you're 12, and I will say this, if I saw the movie right now for the first time, I don't think I would say the best and worst romantic movie I've ever seen. But because I don't think it would affect me as hard as it did as 12, because I would have seen other movies like it, well, not like, because to me, in my opinion, Walk to Remember stands on its own. It's a classic on its own. Notebook's up there as well. And that's a different story I got to share. But it wouldn't have hit me as hard as when I was 12. Think about it. First time watching a romantic movie, you're invested. You loving how Mandy Moore's character is, and you're like, as a little romantic as I was myself, you're like, this is the kind of woman I like. This is awesome. Huh? So that's why I'm not, that's why I want to be clear when I say best and worst. It was, like I always say, when I talk about these stories, it's more of the impact it did for me outside the movie. You know what I'm saying? And no movie has done that before. where it got me like to just break down for 15 minutes. Yeah, that's still a classic. I still love that movie. It is still the best romantic movie I've ever seen. But yeah, that's really it. Nicholas Sparks, I have a love-hate relationship with his movies and books, bro. Like some of them are good, but it's like when I have to read your book and have to brace myself, I'm not a fan of crazy like heartbreaks. Like I understand for some every now and then for like not just his movie but other books. I understand every now and then, but when I ain't gonna front, I'm more of a happy ending kind of person. Like I said, every now and then I understand there's certain situations like Walter Remember or stuff like that. Was like okay, but when I watch romantic comedies or romantic movies, I'm not here to see sadness at the end. That's just me. I like I'm a happy ending kind of person. With me being that way, it's hard. Well, I haven't read or watched Nicholas. I don't know if he still makes movies or stuff, but it was hard back then. After Nice Rodanthe did a number on me. I didn't even cry. That's the thing. I didn't cry. It just made me mad. I'm like, because it came out of nowhere. And it wasn't like, you know how I Walter Remember it built up? It was like in the middle, like near the middle. She said she was sick and she had it. And by the way, she had the sickness before she met him. And it was leading up to her dying. Nice Rodanthe had the most random death ever. And it was like, huh? Why? It's why, but that's another conversation. I love that movie. I'm gonna be clear because I don't want to, when I say worse, some people will just see that and not watch the whole video and just be like, oh, this is no. I'm talking about from my situation is why. If I saw it for the first time now, I know for a fact I wouldn't call it the best and worst romantic movie. But like I always tell y'all, when I share my stories, I share from my experience of then. Could I have a different opinion right now? Sure. Like I said, I wouldn't call it, if I saw it the first time, I wouldn't call it the worst. But then, at that moment, it was the best and worst romantic romantic movie I've ever seen. And that was the first one I've ever seen. But even then, when I used to watch them repeatedly, nothing took that away, that best and worst category. So, and I haven't watched romantic movies in a while. I ain't gonna front. It ain't the way it used to be. Like comedy, romance, drama that's been doing better. But those two, comedy and romance, hasn't. I try every now and then, and it's just dull or boring or agenda driven or something. I ain't trying to see no agenda. I want to see stories stale. It's like okay, is there a good now? Let me know some recommendations because there's so many movies and shows out now. I can't catch everything, so maybe I'm wrong and there actually are some good ones out there. I just haven't seen it. So let me know some recommendations of good comedies and a good romantic movie, even romantic comedies, because I used to watch them. Like the way it was back then, we had 27 Dresses, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, The Notebook, He's Not That Into You. We had a slew of classic romantic movies and romantic comedies. And it ain't the same no more. I don't know what it is. And I ain't trying to be that dude. Like, I'm 34. I ain't trying to be that dude, well, back in my day. But in a way, it's true, though, when it comes to those, even comedies. Just like, people are scared to just be funny. Because it's the whole cancel nonsense. Anyway. Yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below with everything I just said. And what's your best and worst romantic movie? Or just what's your favorite and least favorite romantic movie ever? Anyway, thank y'all so much for tuning in. I'll check you later.